I've always felt that some of Germany's greatest metal bands never got the recognition they earned. Behind the giants like Scorpions and Accept lies a world of pure fire, thrash, power, and raw passion. In this video, I'm shining a spotlight on 10 German metal bands that truly deserve glory. Oh, and if I mess up any German names, sorry about that. I'm trying my best, I promise. The first time I heard Under Jolly Roger, I knew I was listening to something different. Running Wild, founded in 1976, practically invented pirate metal, years before it became a scene. Frontman Rolf Kasperek took traditional heavy metal and injected it with historical themes, seafaring myths, and galloping riffs that felt like open seas turned into sound. Albums like Port Royal and Death or Glory were pure adventure. Fast, melodic, and cinematic. They're widely credited with creating the pirate metal template later adopted by bands like Alestorm, yet Running Wild never became a household name. Critics dismissed them as a novelty, but real fans know how groundbreaking they were. Their precision, storytelling, and musicianship defined a subgenre long before anyone gave it a name. Running Wild didn't just sail with the metal tide, they charted their own course, and it's time the world recognized how far ahead of their era they truly were. Did you know that Gravedigger once represented Germany at the 1986 Eurovision Metal Style Preselection with their song Keep on Rocking? It didn't win, but it perfectly sums up their fearless attitude. Loud, proud, and completely unapologetic. Formed in 1980, Gravedigger has carried the torch for pure heavy metal for over 4 decades, yet they're still too often left out of global conversations. Their debut heavy metal Breakdown captured the raw energy of early Judas Priest, while later albums like Tunes of War turned historical battles into grand, cinematic metal sagas. Frontman Chris Boltendahl's gravelly voice and warrior-like presence made every track sound like a rallying cry. What sets them apart is their perfect blend of melody, storytelling, and ferocity, never diluted for trends. With more than 20 solid albums under their belt, they've remained unpolished, unstoppable, and proudly German. The very definition of heavy metal endurance. Before founding Primal Fear, Matt Sinner was already leading one of Germany's finest melodic metal acts. Sinner formed in 1982 and quickly built a reputation for crafting songs that combined hard rock energy with melodic sophistication. Their albums Danger Zone and Touch of Sin sounded every bit as sharp as early Saxon or Dokken, yet they never broke into the mainstream spotlight. Maybe timing played against them, or maybe they were just too true to themselves to chase trends. Their sound blended precision, passion, and that unmistakable German metal drive. What I love about Sinner is that they never stopped. Through decades, they've stayed consistent, releasing album after album of solid, hook-filled metal. You can hear the DNA of Primal Fear all over their early work, and it's clear Matt Sinner's talent was always there. They might not have the big-name recognition, but Sinner helped lay the foundation for modern German melodic metal. This next band proves that humor and heaviness can coexist. Tankard formed in Frankfurt in 1982, and they earned the nickname Kings of Beer Metal. But behind the fun lies serious thrash pedigree. Alongside Creator, Sodom, and Destruction, Tankard were part of the Teutonic Big Four, shaping the face of German thrash. Their albums Chemical Invasion and The Morning After mixed breakneck riffs with lyrics that mocked hypocrisy, greed, and societal decay, all while raising a pint. The problem? Their comedic edge made critics dismiss them as a joke, but true fans know their musicianship and songwriting were razor sharp. They turned partying into protest and humor into a weapon. Tankard never chased trends or softened their sound. They just kept thrashing decade after decade. To me, that's the ultimate mark of authenticity. They remind us that metal can be brutal, intelligent, and still a damn good time.
Make it stop!
When you talk about Kreator and Slayer, you should also talk about Destruction, a band that belongs in the same breath for their speed, precision, and pure intensity. Formed in 1982, they helped define the ferocious Teutonic thrash sound that influenced death and black metal around the world. Their debut, Infernal Overkill, exploded with chaotic precision, raw, relentless, and years ahead of its time. Frontman Schmier's snarling vocals and biting lyrics became a trademark of German aggression. Over the decades, Destruction has remained fiercely consistent, never watering down their sound for trends or radio. While other bands flirted with mainstream success, Destruction stayed underground, pure and proud. Their influence is written all over the DNA of extreme metal, yet they're still underrated outside hardcore circles. For me, they represent the unbreakable backbone of German metal, uncompromising, furious, and forever loyal to the roots of thrash. As we move into the 1990s, a new wave of German metal bands began blending raw power with fresh experimentation, and few did it better than Rage. When I first discovered them, I couldn't believe how much they'd accomplished without wider fame. Formed in 1984, Rage have released over 25 albums that blur the lines between thrash, power, and symphonic metal. Long before Metallica experimented with orchestras, Rage had already fused metal and symphonic arrangements on Lingua Mortis in 1996 and 13 in 1998. Led by bassist and vocalist Pevi Wagner, their songwriting combines aggression and melody in a way that influenced Gamma Ray and Blind Guardian. They've never stopped evolving, from raw speed to grand, cinematic metal landscapes. And yet, outside of Europe, they rarely get the respect they deserve. For me, Rage defines what underrated German metal truly is: fearless, creative, and eternally driven. When Kai Hansen left Helloween in 1989 to form Gamma Ray, he wasn't walking away from success. He was creating a new chapter in metal history. Gamma Ray became the blueprint for European power metal as we know it, carrying the torch for melody, speed, and positivity when much of the metal world was turning darker. Albums like Land of the Free and Somewhere Out in Space defined the sound of soaring vocals, twin guitar harmonies, and hopeful lyrics about freedom and unity. They inspired an entire generation of bands from Hammerfall to Dragon Force and helped solidify Germany as the creative heart of power metal. Yet despite their huge influence, Gamma Ray never reached mainstream fame outside devoted fans. Maybe their optimism didn't fit the gloomier trends of the 90s, but their message and musicianship remained timeless. To me, Gamma Ray proved that metal can be powerful, melodic, and uplifting all at once. Let's move on to Edguy. As we move deeper into the 1990s, it's impossible to ignore Edguy, the band that proved metal could be both powerful and playful. Before Tobias Sammet conquered the world with Avantasia, his first band was already redefining what power metal could sound like. Formed in 1992, Edguy combined virtuosic musicianship with humor, heart, and theatrical flair. They weren't afraid of melody or excess. In fact, they celebrated it. Albums like Mandrake and Hellfire Club burst with soaring choruses, dazzling guitar work, and tongue-in-cheek storytelling that made every song feel like an adventure. Outside Europe, Edguy was often overshadowed by Avantasia's fame, but their influence spread quietly through a new generation of melodic and symphonic metal acts. What I admire most is how they made metal feel joyful again, not grim or competitive, but alive, imaginative, and unapologetically fun. Edguy turned fantasy into fuel and kept power metal's spirit shining. When Primal Fear burst onto the scene in 1997, it felt like a resurrection of classic heavy metal for a new generation. Founded by bassist Matt Sinner and former Gamma Ray vocalist Ralph Scapers, the band instantly turned heads with their powerful mix of melody, precision, and aggression. The Scapers' voice is a force of nature, soaring like Rob Halford at his peak, while the band's tight musicianship delivers a polished yet ferocious sound. Albums like Nuclear Fire and Black Sun prove that pure heavy metal can still sound fresh and massive decades after its golden age. Every song feels like it was made for an arena crowd that never quite arrived. In a fair world, Primal Fear would be global headliners, not just European heroes. What I love most is their integrity. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just pure, unrelenting metal. They kept the flame burning when others let it fade. To end this list, we fast forward to the 21st century. Obscura, formed in 2002, represent the new generation of German metal, technical, visionary, and absolutely relentless. Their music bridges eras, fusing the complexity of progressive rock with the crushing intensity of death metal, creating a sound that's both cerebral and visceral. Albums like Cosmogenesis and A Valediction showcase musicianship on another level. Every note feels deliberate, every riff engineered for impact. Among fellow musicians, Obscura are revered. Among casual fans, they remain a hidden treasure. That's part of their mystery. They've never chased trends, only perfection. What truly sets them apart is their emotional depth beneath all the precision. It's music that challenges the mind but still hits the heart. For me, Obscura proved that Germany's metal legacy is still evolving, turning technical brilliance into pure art and carrying the torch into the future. Germany's metal story goes far beyond the usual names. These 10 bands proved that greatness doesn't always come with fame. It comes with passion, endurance, and fearless creativity. From thrash pioneers to modern innovators, they shaped the sound of heavy metal. It's time the world finally gave them their due.
Not a single beam of light. All we have is our faith.